Hi guys, so this is actually part 4 of where to begin with Pixify. If you haven't tuned into 1, 2, or 3 yet, I definitely suggest that you do that before you come on to this video. I'm basically just giving you a visual of this document here of where to begin with Pixify. In part 1, we talked about the email sync settings and just general application things that you will need to input to basically work with all the modules in Pixify. And then part 2, we talked about email templates, a little bit about contract templates. And then part 3, we talked about contract templates and basically your client area and just certain fields in the client area that you need to know about. Okay, so we're actually moving on here to now where it says leads and just giving you some information regarding some fields in the leads area. So when you go to Pixify, you can go under contact leads, okay? And this will bring you to this area right here, and you can just add a new lead. If you don't use the Pixify inquiry form, you can just add a lead directly from Pixify by going to here. But if you do use the inquiry lead form, then it will automatically import any leads that you get from that form. If you have not watched the video on how to create a lead form, you're welcome to do that. So that way this makes a little bit more sense to you. And you can actually embed that inquiry form into your website. And there's several different ways that you can do that. And you can look in the documentation area in the Pixify group or under the support articles to see how to do that. Okay. So when you get into a lead, I'm just going to press add new lead. Okay, there's this thing called lead type. Lead type is basically kind of like categories on stuff that you shoot. So you can do several different types of lead types: weddings, engagements, family, maternity, babies, boudoir, however you want. And this kind of just gives you a good visual of what the client is inquiring about. Okay, if you have information regarding, the date and things like that, that's helpful, but usually I leave this blank because I shoot mostly boudoir. If you shoot portraits, then it's probably the same thing. Weddings, you can actually put an event date in there, which is helpful. Okay. So if you watched the last video, all this stuff is generally kind of the same from the client's area. The roles and the special dates, the address, and stuff like that. So in the leads area, what they really want you to show you is this referral area. Okay. This is really, really helpful to kind of see where all your leads are coming from. So you click on associate referrer. You can actually put in a past client in here. Or if it's not a past client, say for instance they say they found you on Facebook, you can actually click manage referrers and actually enter in, add new referrer here, and enter in, Facebook. For instance, right now we have Google and the not. This is really, really helpful because if you enter in all the referral areas and every lead that you get, you can actually go in and look at the graph to see who is referring you. And at the end of the year, you can just look to see how many referrals you're getting from wherever and, adjust your marketing according to that. Okay. So under the lead areas, there's also statuses. Okay. So if you go back to leads, okay, I'm just going to go in and pop into a lead that's already generated. You can change the status. So change status based off of what you've already done with this client. So for instance, under this status, we've already sent them an initial, a follow-up and scheduled a meeting with them. So this gives you a really good idea of where you're currently at with this lead. That is a good way for you to be able to follow up with them if needed, and just a good visual of basically, your workflow with a current lead that you're working on now. So this also goes into kind of lead reminders. So when you go into this lead, you can actually schedule yourself reminders to follow up with this person, especially if you haven't heard from them in like 5 days, or after your meeting, you can schedule a reminder to send an email, something like that. Okay. Under staff, so you can actually have staff under these two subscriptions, Essential and Pro. And for the staff, it's not just helpful for just leads, but it's helpful for basically every area in Pixify, because you can assign certain staff members to certain things. For instance, like under the event reminders, you can assign a certain staff member to do a certain reminder. So say one staff member is just in charge of doing follow-ups, you can assign that to that person, so that way they know that they need to do that without you having to verbally tell them, because it should show up on their Pixify. Okay, and then of course there are certain things that you can add via Pixify, like your vendors, so that way you can keep track of vendors by certain events. And then also there's locations as well. You can keep track of locations, and in that way it all encompasses under one client area. So now moving on to events. We talked a little bit about event types under the leads area, but there's a few things that you probably want to need to know under event types. So when you go to things to do events, okay, under event types, this is where you can add each different event type. The things that they feel like it's important for you to know is these custom fields for your event types and how to hide certain events. So when you create an event type, if you have not watched the video regarding how to create an inquiry form via Pixify, you definitely want to do that, because it will make a little bit more sense here. When you look at your inquiry form, it basically has, the first page has a little drop down box that lets them choose what kind of event that they're inquiring about. Say for instance, if you have an event type under here that is only for your purposes, so that way you can do some sort of reporting or calculations or something like that, and you don't want it to show up on your inquiry form, you can simply click on the event and click hide right here, and it will hide it from the inquiry form. Okay, a few other things that you might need to know that's important. Custom fields. If there is a certain type of question you would only ask for, like a certain category that you shoot. Say for instance, with senior sessions, you want to know what grade they're in. So you can actually add a custom field to any category that you want, asking specific questions regarding only to that event type. So that way, once they get into their inquiry form and they click the event type, say they click senior portraits, this question will show up as one of the questions you want to add them in their event area. And that way, you can customize your event or your inquiry form based off of what they're inquiring about. Okay, so now we're moving on to event reminders. So that's basically kind of like lead reminders at the same time. You can add event reminders when you go out there, and this will be under the event area. So very similar to your lead reminders. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save finances for video number 5. As always, you can subscribe to this channel to keep more Pixify tips and tricks, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.